The year was 1994. It was late 1994. I had graduated high school a few months previously and had gotten a job at Hastings Music and Bookstore in Longview, which was one of the more popular stores for everybody to go to in the weekends because there wasn't anything else to do really in Longview. So working at Hastings was kind of like being out. You were going to see all your friends anyway. I was working a night shift on a Saturday night. Hastings closed at like 10 p.m. at that time frame. I was 18 years old and I had just bought my own first car, which was a 1990 gray Camaro RS. I was proud of it. It was pretty, and I was making my own payments working at Hastings. I was doing good for an 18-year-old at that time. I had gotten off work at 10 p.m. and was going to drive home. We lived in White Oak, and so the drive from Hastings to White Oak was probably about 16, 17 minutes. And one of the roads it would take to get home was on Teneryville. Teneryville is a 2-lane road. It's about 3 miles long. Anyway, I was driving down that road. Let's say it's about 10:15 p.m. Dark. And I'm doing the speed limit of 55 miles an hour because I can't afford a ticket. And I'm driving down Teneryville about a mile into the street, and I see two kids on the right-hand side of the road riding bicycles. They were probably between 10 and 12 years old, maybe 13. Driving down the right-hand side of the road, so I moved over to the middle of the street and slowed down to probably 47, 48 miles an hour as I went around them. The closer I got to him, the kid in front decided to go from the right side of the road to the left side of the road without looking behind him. I don't know why he didn't notice my headlights, but he went across the street and I hit him, doing about 47 miles an hour. Camaro's low to the ground, so it threw him over the top of the car, and I swear we locked eyes through the windshield. He went over the top of the car and landed in the culvert, the grassy ditch on the left-hand side of the road. I slammed on the brakes and slid about, I don't know, 50 to 100 feet before I came to a standstill. I pulled over to the side of the road, got out. It was dark. Couldn't see anything, but I could hear a kid wailing in the night. So I ran to the nearest house to try to use their phone because there were no cell phones. There was no cell phones back then. People didn't have cell phones. Knocked on the first door I got to. Guy answered the door. I told him what had happened briefly and asked him to call my parents. So I called my dad and woke him up and said, "Hey, I just hit a kid on a bicycle. This is where I'm at. Could you please come here?" And he did. The guy who owned the house called the 911, and it seemed like within a matter of minutes, police, ambulance, and everybody showed up at that place where I hit that kid. The police told me just to stay where my car was, and when my dad showed up, for us both to stay there. So we watched them get this kid out of the ditch and walk him over to the ambulance and set him on the back of the ambulance while they went over him. It was clear they had the intention of hauling him to the hospital for safety reasons. The other kid on the other bicycle just sat there and watched. And me and my dad are just sitting there wondering what's going to happen to me. You know, what if I done something wrong? You know, it felt like I'd done something wrong. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, an older man and another kid, a third kid the same age as these previous two, come walking up out of the dark. Well, they were walking very fast, and they were mad, you could tell. They walked over to the cops and had a discussion. The cops walked back over to the kid, and the ambulance had a discussion. And the next thing you know, they take the kid out of the ambulance, put him in handcuffs, and stick him in the back of a police car. Whereas the older guy and the third kid walk over and get the mangled bicycle that I had hit and start walking back in the direction they had came. At that point, the ambulance leaves and cop cars start leaving, and me and my dad are still sitting there. So we run over and grab the last cop before he leaves, and we said, "Hey, what are we supposed to do? What is going on?" He said, "Well, it turns out that kid that you hit had stolen that bicycle 10 minutes before you hit him, and that was the owner and his son who had come to claim it. So he's going to JDC for theft because he admitted to stealing it. He's not hurt. I don't know how he wasn't hurt. He's not hurt, so we're taking him straight to JDC. I said, "What about the damages to my car?" He said, "Well, see if your insurance company will pay for it." And that was the end of that story. So if I ever mention the time I hit a kid on a bicycle, that is the story in detail.